Weekend and long holiday. We have Todd Sullivan, my buddy, and from Value Plays today. Todd, I hope you had a nice long weekend. We'd like to see the Sox lose a couple more. Um, Now, both of us jumped on some UNG this morning on its weakness, right?
Yeah. The way they have UNG kind of fallen. It's when it gets below 4 and it's down to the 370 area. Most people can't get it out of the ground without losing money, just doing the basics. So, that kind of gives us a scenario where the assumption is demand is going to fall way below supply. I don't believe that's going to be the case. We're coming into the summer heating season, and the economy is going to slowly begin to pick up some steam, and as it does, gas usage will increase. And it's kind of like the same scenario as oil. Demand and supply always lag each other. So when the economy does pick up, it is going to pick up ahead of supply, and that'll cause the price to rise. So, we'll get back to normalized prices, the $5, $6, $7 soon enough. And I think when we do, you're going to see the price of gas go with it. It's too far. It's too far below where.
That's what I thought, buddy. I thought, my gosh, man, this is like no one's ever using gas again.
Yeah, and it's not just going to happen overnight. It might take over the summer, might take over into the fall, but it's going to happen. And when it does, people who are buying now and are patient and can sit and wait, they're going to do just fine with it. They're going to do just fine with it. They really are.
Yeah, I got some more today. I bought some more. I think it was like $13.40, right?
Yeah.
I just thought, this is too cheap. This is too cheap.
Yeah, right out of the gate, it felt like a stone. It's recovered all of it back now, right? It's only down about, I think, about 12 cents now, something like that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, but I just thought, something, this is a classic example of being just too oversold. People aren't going to stop using gas. They don't need to use 10 times as much, just a regular amount, and it'll float back up.
Exactly. I think you're 100% right on that one.
Now, my friend, I wanted to ask if your green pen is broken. You had, and apparently you have 2 red pens, because you have some great illustrations on your site at valueplays.blogspot.com on employment figures.
Yeah, wasn't that a spooky little chart that they had? I have the link on the to the original website on mine, so people can go check it out. It's actually one of those animated graphs that kind of go back about 6 years, and they show employment changes, and at the end, of course, basically the whole map turns red.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
It really is. I mean, when you look at it like that, you're like, holy cow, that's frightening. And that kind of goes to the whole consumer confidence thing today, that they want to tout the number that, people are a little more confident and it rose more than they expected it to. But, there are some things hidden in the numbers there that, don't really jive. For instance, only 2% of people think they're going to buy a home in the next year, which is lower than the month before. So that kind of tells you people don't have any plans on making a big-ticket purchase like a home, which is really our number one problem, right? We're back up to almost a year inventory on homes right now. We still have another wave of foreclosures coming. Based on that employment chart, we know more people are losing their jobs, which means what?
They're not going to run out and buy homes without a job.
Or they're going to lose them, So, I think people were maybe so desolate in January, February, with what their outlook were and what they were thinking, because the politicians were on TV telling us every chance they could that the world was coming to an end, that maybe they're a little overly optimistic now, and it just doesn't jive up, because until we get housing fixed and until we get housing stabilized, and that's not going to happen until at least the end of this year, probably into next.
Well, I heard Howard Linden talking this morning on Stock Twits about how housing in Phoenix is a disaster, right?
Yep.
And how people are like shorting their homes and getting out and just walking away from them. And I think that's beginning to even happen in New York. Now, New York, right, you always have demand from the students every year coming in, and you have demand from the foreign markets, right?
Yep.
But I still see it happening in New York. It's just like, it's like, I don't know about it, because I don't see it being reported.
No, and you know what? What was it? A 20%, 19% price drop year over year in Q1. I mean, if you have a $500,000 home, that's a $100,000 price drop. And if you were one of those people who were the last one in and put 0 down or 5% down, people are stepping back and saying, okay, do I really want to repay that $100,000 when I can walk away and save it?
Right.
go rent someplace, and then probably, the way the government's throwing money at the problem, they're probably figuring they're going to be able to buy a new house in 4 or 5 years,
right,
still under that price. So, I think that the supply is at 11 months now, and there's this whole shadow inventory of homes that is kind of floating out there that hasn't hit the market yet, that we kind of know is coming.
Well, that's what I think, Bud, is I think there's an awful lot of people who bought at $2.7 million that today it's worth or selling for, let's say it would sell today for $2 million, but they still have savings or severance or whatever, so they're holding on.
Yep, exactly.
But they're way underwater, and it's not going to be coming back anytime soon.
And then there comes a point where you look at it and say, okay, well, is walking away from my home and the impact on my credit report that I'll take, is that worth $100,000? Is that worth the $200,000 extra dollars I'll have to pay back if I stay in this house? And a lot of people, based on all evidence we can find, are saying, you know what, no, it's not worth it. I'm going to walk away because, we know how this story plays out, that, what's going to happen is 3 or 4 years from now, everyone's going to be part of that housing bust, and that credit impact will start to be discounted because they want to move these homes that are still sitting there. So it'll be like this great event never happened as far as people's credit scores, and that's what they're banking on because that's what history tells us they do.
Time and time again.
If you're late on your student loans, that's just student loans. We don't worry about that. And, someday you're going to have the same thing. That was just the housing bust. We're not going to worry about that in your credit mark. So, people are making an economic decision and they're walking. And, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And my problem with all the bottom callers in housing are, there are probably people sitting in their homes who want to sell right now and thinking, you know what, it's going to bottom and turn up at the end of the year, so I'm going to sit. I'm going to stay in my house and ride it up. And the end of the year comes, and they're down another 10, 15%. That's a lot of money to a lot of people. So
absolutely. And, when they don't see things coming back like everyone's forecasting.
Yes. I don't, we've said it, you and I have talked about this countless times here, that housing is, when these housing busts happen, these are decade events. These aren't, 1 or 2 years and we fix it. We can't sign something in the legislation and fix something that takes a decade to cause overnight. And housing is that. And housing is going to fall for the rest of this year, probably into next, as unemployment worsens and the economy kind of slugs along. And, people who are trying to call a bottom in right now, I think are doing a lot of people a real disservice out there.
So do I, Bud, because you're encouraging that guy who's got 10 months of savings left to spend it and hang on for this big housing boom, and it's not happening.
Right, it's not. And, he could get out now and, save himself another 10, 15% on the downside. And if he holds on, or if they hold on thinking that it's going to turn around, it's just not going to happen. They'll be out even more. And then, then maybe you're supposed to get someone who's wiped out. Because they've sat there paying that mortgage for the next 10 months. So,
right. Yeah, I agree with you as usual, my friend. And thank you very much for taking time from your busy day, man. Guys, you have to go through and read his blog every day. I tell you that every day. He's got this good illustrations, animations on his site about the geography of jobs. And I'll tell you what, you should pay attention to it. Todd, thanks very much as always, my friend.
Have a great day.
You too, my friend. Guys, come on back to WS.